Hello. Today we'll be messing with smear frames. Smear frames isn't really an animation technique you need to worry about all too much, but it is good when you need to demonstrate something moving really quickly and you don't have the frame rate to really demonstrate that. If you look down here, I guess you might have to zoom in on your end, but right now I have a frame rate of 8. That means 8 frames will be going per second. Some videos are faster, some videos are slower. Normally the best frame rate that allows people to no longer tell the difference between the fact that it's not moving and it's moving as if it was real life is 12 frames, and then 24 frames is normally the smoothest people really want to go. Let me give you an example of an animation, something really simple. So I'm sure you've seen like if you watch anime, you know that when someone shoots a blast of energy, it'll go one place, hit the enemy, then explode. Basically, I'm going to try and animate someone dodging an attack, and it's showing the difference between just doing it frame by frame and then using a smear frame to emulate speed. So, going to have one person here. Apologize if they look rough. Discord, come on. Turn that off. Okay, I shouldn't be bothering you anymore. There. So I'm just drawing of a dude. Then you'll have another dude coming forward, and he's kicking. So what I'm going to do is lazy animating, basically. Because I'm demonstrating frame by frame and without utilizing smears, I'm just going to show using boxes. You'll see this person fly forward. Actually, before I even do that, even move him, let me move this guy a little further back, just so that, let me move everything a little further back, make him a little smaller, just so that, distance actually makes a bit more sense. Okay, now they're a little smaller. Since they're a little smaller, this guy can be further back and it'll make a little more sense. This guy further back here. Yep. Then, basically, this guy will kick forward. Then he'll move forward once more. And then as he's moving forward, this guy is going to dodge. He'll just, he will duck. Yeah, he'll duck. Sort of like this. Yep. Sometimes it's good to draw this just so that you know how you plan to have the character dodge. As you see, his stance widens to make room for the fact he's lowering his body. His head's going to be a little closer to his chest. Part of his shoulders may even reach above his chin, all to show that he's moving, really squishing his body there. So, you know. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. So I apologize for any background music, background noise. I am, you know, everyone's kind of stuck at home because of the virus and everything. So, you see he starts pushing his body really. Then here, I'm also going to cheat a little again, because you can emulate the squishing of the body like normal to have him duck. Or like that. Then his body is going to fly clear past. Then his body is going to disappear. Now, you can either move it manually if you want to, or you can just erase it. It'll still give the same feeling that the body moved. Like, that's the cool thing about the human eye. Like, when we see something, we can assume something happens because of the way our eyes work. So, you can assume his body left. Of course, it would help a bit too if it looked like his body disappeared halfway through. So, there. Let's see. Yeah. And then if you wanted to, you could even add speed lines. Then create, then remove those speed lines to be like, yep, he's gone. Now, as you see, like, it's serviceable. You see this guy dodge under it, but it's not really interesting. Say you want to, you want this to actually give off a sense of extreme speed. With this, you would have him make the same movement using less frames, and then you would employ this technique called smear frames in order to change that feeling. So basically what smear frames do is they create the same level of movement Smear frame creates the same level of movement. The only difference being it does so in less time by using shortcuts made to trick the mind. Now, there, you see this animation, sort of animation. You can reduce the frame by 1, and at first it'll be like, that's snappy, it's fast, but it's not real. It doesn't feel like an actual animation. It just feels like a movement from one to another. And then what you can do is you can use smear frames to emulate actual movement. So swinging of a sword, give it the feeling of, you know how like when you see a fan blade spin, it doesn't really take the shape of a fan blade anymore, it gets a little wider. If you gives you that feeling of rapid movement. Let's see. You don't even have to animate the rest of this fully, because so we're giving the feeling. I hope this can demonstrate it a little bit. Now, going back to this one that I have here, I'm going to try and see if I can remove 2 frames. So, this movement's good. You can keep this movement if you want. This final movement is good. You don't need to keep that. You don't really need to keep that. Let's see. I'll replace that with this. So then he's going up. So basically, like that. So he's going to have to get from here all the way here in less frames than he did before. It's relatively simple. Basically, what I'm going to do is you have your frame starting here, then you have him moving here, then you have him moving here, then disappearing. What I'm going to do is have him kick forward once more. Difference being, as he's kicking forward, his body will be a bit more squished, and he'll be moving at such speed it feels as if part of his body is trailing behind him. That's how fast he's moving right now. He's moving so fast that a part of his body is literally, he's moving so fast that our eyes can't fully track him. That's basically what's going on. You sort of get the feeling of their movements. Now, another thing about smear frames that make them work a bit is because it's sort of like a blurring secondary, you can even make the emulation of the person's body almost as if there are multiple places at once, giving you the feeling that rapid movement. Now, of course, this last frame over here still has to carry a bit of that rapidness, or else it'll feel like it's not really following the rules of it. You can remove this like that, because you don't really need it anymore. Basically, there. That same feeling of speed, and you didn't even really need to fully animate all of the movement. Let me try and see if I can pull a me doing this and me doing this. Let me see if I can find something that can emulate that. It still works. Let's see. Okay, so we can try this one. It'll take a bit for it to load. Rita's like that. It's a little crazy like that sometimes. Hopefully it doesn't. So, see, let me move here. So, here you'll see this person move up a bit. Here you'll see them disappear. I don't actually draw their movement. I use flash lines and then basic colors to represent that smearing. Let's see, that's from frame 75 to frame 79. So let me do 75 to 79, and it is at 12 frames per second, so it might feel fast. But yeah, as you see, let me say put it to frame 81. If you notice, you'll see, and here, let me slow it down a bit. Let me say slow it to 4 frames per second. As you see, it's the frame speed, the speed in which you affect the frame can affect how quick something appears to be moving before you. Let me say move it to 8 frames per second, and then you'll see that a bit more too. See. You notice that this last bit, where he charges forward, doesn't feel real because I don't really employ any animation techniques like smear frames or anything. I just enlarge the picture. That's why moving it to 12 frames per second worked, because it moves at such a speed that the human eye can't really catch that. That's the point of smear frames. It's the point of a lot of these animation techniques. It's to emulate the feeling of realness. As you see here, I'm employing squash, which I showed, employing way more squash than I should. Size keeps changing, it's so inconsistent. And then here's a nice little fun little anticipation, because he moves back, then charges forward. Let's see, let me move from frame 84 to frame 96, just to show you. Frame 84, frame 96. So, you see him move back, and you assume he moves back, and then when the screen turns white, you're left thinking, okay, does that mean he charged back? And that's supposed to represent the, see that shake, that bit of a shake right here. That is to represent the force of the impact of the attack. That it was big, it hurt. Then smoke cloud to represent the after effects of the attack. A lot of times with animation, as long as you can give the person the illusion that things are moving, they're normally satisfied. Here, this is probably the most animated animation I do with this. where I even animate the movement of his abs and such. Here, that's from frame 60 to frame 73. 73. Because I want it to be as precise as possible, I had to do a lot of work with that one. But yeah, then you see a lot of times you don't even really need to do all that much, because here, look, you see, all I did was subtle movement of the eyes, subtle movement of the eyes. Like, let's see, we'll close this one. Nope. Let me open another one that I think might include Squitch. Let's see if I can find an older one. So I have my draft of Bring Back Sandtails, which, well, actually this one has some good squashing and stretching. Let's see. Let me see if I can find. Wow. Okay. Let's see. Let's try Bring Back Sandtails Draft 1. No. Let's check my videos just so I can see whether I have any more stretches. Stretch. Let's see. Good example of stretch and squash. Well, these all have good examples of it. Oh, I wouldn't even be able to demonstrate it. Let's see. Okay, so for this one, you'll see good example of squashing a bit here to demonstrate movement that is rapid. So it almost feels like here, as you see, the orb of energy turns more and more streamlined and ovular before stretching upwards, then bouncing up before hitting, and then you see this explosion. It sort of balloons out before disappearing. Example of a squash and stretch. Of course, I'm also spoiling animations I'm doing. And also you've seen someone throws a ball hard enough that it almost feels as if it's bending in the air. Then if I played this fully, Well, I hope this helps.